The Democratic leaders have accepted an invitation to meet with President Trump and Republicans on Thursday to avert a government shutdown. This comes after Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi canceled their meeting with the president last week. Remember that shot of the president with two empty chairs? What are you expecting? Are they going to show up?
They have to. I mean, because, again, I think the history has shown that the side that starts to demand something in a spending bill other than the status quo and bring about a shutdown of the government is the one that loses. So I do think that they will show up. There'll be a short-term measure to get us over the hump, if you will, so as not to bring the government down. But I do think that you're going to have a much broader discussion on funding in the beginning of next year. And again, not the time for them to blow the momentum that they've gained with this tax bill.
Lindsay?
Well, they need the Democrats to get this budget passed. So what kind of bargaining chips do you think the Democrats are going to bring to the table?
Well, I mean, again, I think that the Nancy Pelosi will be overplaying her hand if she goes in and starts demanding fixes on DACA, if she starts demanding
That's what
other
they want,
things.
fixes on DACA.
But again, if she does this in the short term, I think that that is a miscalculation. She will overplay her hand, and she'll be blamed, and the Democrats will be blamed for a shutdown. But if she'll wait to go into January and there's a broader, longer-term outlook for the spending bill, I think there's certainly room for her to gain, because you're right, this is a bipartisan measure. You have to have 60 votes in the Senate to pass a spending bill.
So what do you expect from the 2018 election? So do you feel that the current House membership, the leadership, is at risk of losing the majority?
Here's Maria, here's my concern about 18. I know a lot of people are starting to focus on this. My party, the Republicans, we've got to start to figure out how to win the suburbs again. If you look at what happened in Virginia, my state, a month ago, Dagan, yours as well, it was a bloodbath in the suburbs. Northern Virginia, the deep state, as some would allege, a lot of the people who work in the federal government, and downstate, in the areas where I used to represent, overwhelmingly places that hadn't gone Democratic.
Chesterfield went Democrat, didn't it? Chesterfield County, Virginia Beach, Loudoun. Ed Gillespie actually won Loudoun County when he ran for the Senate, and Northam beat him, just wiped the floor with him.
That's why I think a lot of
people
are nervous about.
Listen, they've got to. We understand how to deal with the suburbs, and to the point that you were talking about earlier in this tax bill. The suburbs, the upper middle income suburbs, the women, they came out in droves against my party. So we'll have to see how.
I was listening to Donna Brazile on a podcast recently, and I think the Democrats actually ran candidates in every single district for the state legislature, and it's something that was really remarkable that they were able to do. And these were candidates that fired up people, that got people excited. This is a template for what the Democrats are going to do next year.
And this is the interesting fact, that Ed Gillespie got more Republican votes than Bob McDonnell, than Ken Cuccinelli in any recent time, but yet you saw Northam, the Democrat, exceeding that turnout. So it was a 15% increase of turnout of Republicans since last time, but the Democrats had 31% increase in their turnout. So to your point, they're fired up. And so
is that largely an anti-Trump vote? Is that what that is?
Well, listen, I mean, I think that they've just got, it's similar if you look back to what happened to the Republican Party. And when we regained the majority in 2010, we had a lot of momentum against some of the things that were going on under the Obama first 2 years of his administration and the unilateral push on the left.
But Northam was a good candidate in terms of he was an Army doctor who had voted for George Bush.
He was a native Virginia. He was a native Virginian, born and raised in the rural parts of the state. He was a doctor that was practicing in Norfolk. I mean, he was a good candidate for them.
People in Southern,
people in Southern
I think there's reason to be worried.
People in Southern Virginia, that resonated with people who were on the fence between voting for Gillespie and voting Democrat.
Is there anything they can do to get this back? I mean,
listen, I think the answer is pass these bills, get the tax bill done, go on and move to infrastructure, use the momentum to go in and start to appeal back to the people in the suburbs that just want to live their life, continue to raise their families, and have a better outlook for their kids.
Real quick on Conyers. Congressman John Conyers reportedly will announce today that he will not seek re-election. This is according to a family member who is planning to run for his seat. The embattled congressman expected to make the announcement by calling into a local radio show later this morning. Your thoughts?
Listen, when I was leader, I had zero tolerance for any of this kind of shenanigans on sexual harassment and whatever. I mean, you just look and juxtapose what's going on in the private sector and what happens to individuals that are accused of sexual harassment in the workplace. They're gone. And yet somehow we see
Al Franken's hanging around, John Conyers hanging around.
Well, and they're settling these cases with our money, taxpayer money, which we didn't know about.
What's that about?
Right, we should have zero tolerance for that. There should be of the utmost transparency on that, and if the victims of these incidences will agree, they should absolutely be expunged, and we should see transparency on that.
Bottom line there, Eric, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks so much, Eric Cantor there.